Layla had just joined the company recently, and she was surprised when her coworker Kendra asked, "Layla, why are you dating Nolan?" Layla looked confused and asked, "What's so surprising about that?" Kendra told her that since she was new here, she didn't know anything yet. Layla asked what exactly she was supposed to know, getting a little annoyed by how serious everyone was acting, with their wide eyes and quiet whispers like it was some big secret. Nolan was the boss of their department, and for someone his age, he held a big position. People said he was very smart, and there were already rumors that he might get promoted again soon. He was 34, unmarried, drove a nice car, and loved sports. Sure, some people wondered why he had never been married before, but these days many young people focus on their careers first, so it wasn't such a big deal. Kendra leaned in and said that many girls at the office had tried dating Nolan, but nothing ever worked out. Layla rolled her eyes and asked if Kendra was really going to name every girl who had dated him. Kendra got serious and said it wasn't about the girls. It was about why the relationships failed. Layla guessed maybe the feelings hadn't been real, but Kendra wasn't convinced that was the whole reason. Kendra explained that the problem was with Nolan's parents. They weren't even very old, but they depended completely on him. He worked hard, but all his money went to support his parents' lifestyle, including their frequent trips to seaside resorts. Layla didn't think that was such a bad thing, but Kendra said she didn't understand. His parents didn't just ask for help. They controlled every part of his life and got angry if he spent money on anyone else. Kendra told Layla that Nolan never talked about it. But a few girls had broken up with him because his parents interfered as soon as anything serious began. They were afraid of losing the money he gave them, and Nolan, being a loyal son, suffered and put up with everything. Kendra said Layla had no idea how far his parents could go to keep him under their control. Layla found it hard to believe. Nolan didn't look like the kind of man who would let his parents run his life. Kendra agreed, saying that Nolan had probably shut off his emotions and ignored the situation. Layla said that seemed crazy in this modern world, but Kendra warned her not to underestimate people who try to live off others. Some even go as far as controlling their own children. Even though Layla didn't really believe Kendra, she didn't argue. She thought maybe Kendra was just jealous. Later, as she walked to the coffee machine, someone came from behind and gently hugged her. She turned quickly and said, "Nolan, you scared me." He laughed and said, "You knew it was me?" She replied, "What if I didn't?" And he joked that then he'd worry about who else might be hugging her. Nolan then suggested they go to a cafe that evening and talk about their future. Layla was happy, and even though she had been waiting for this kind of talk, Kendra's words stayed in her mind, making her feel nervous about what was coming. That night, as they sat in the cafe, Nolan said he didn't want to wait anymore. He wanted to be with her always, not just date for a year. Layla smiled and said she felt the same way. Then she asked if his parents even wanted him to get married. At that question, Nolan's face became serious. He said she must have heard the rumors already. He admitted that his parents were very controlling and might not be happy about the marriage, but they weren't evil. They would accept it if they saw him happy. Suddenly, a loud voice shouted, "Nolan!" And both of them jumped. A woman around 50 years old stormed in and stared at Layla disapprovingly. She asked Nolan who this girl was and reminded him that she had a doctor's appointment today, asking how he could forget about his mother's health for another woman. Nolan stood up calmly and told his mother to stop shouting. He introduced Layla as his fiancée and reminded her that the appointment had been during the day, not now. His mother got upset and said that a good son would have come home after work to check on his mother, but Nolan reminded her that it was just a visit to the dentist. Trying to calm things down, Nolan apologized to Layla and said he would take his mother home and have a serious talk with her. Layla felt sorry for him and said goodbye, joking that maybe the painkillers were causing his mother's behavior. She also said the idea of living in another city didn't sound bad to her, hinting that they should move away from his parents. Nolan's mother was so angry that she stomped her foot but couldn't say anything. Layla quickly left while she had the chance. That night, Nolan had a serious talk with his mother and told her that her behavior was unacceptable. When she got defensive, he told her that he would be renting his own apartment the next day and moving out. As Nolan left the house, his father looked worried and asked his wife if she had gone crazy. He said that if Nolan moved out and got married, they would be left with only their small pensions to live on. Gail said their son would still support them, but her husband said that once he had a wife, things would change quickly. Gail was quiet for a moment, thinking, then suddenly smiled. She said they needed to get rid of Layla. Her husband looked shocked and asked if she meant to get rid of her completely. Gail said not like that. Just get her out of their lives. Then she shared her secret plan with him, and he listened carefully, nodded, and even smiled. The next day, Gail approached Nolan and said that she and his father had talked and realized they had been treating him like a child for too long. She said they now wanted him to get married and have a family, and she even invited Layla over for dinner on Friday so they could get to know her better and talk about wedding plans. Nolan couldn't believe what he was hearing and asked if she was being serious. Gail smiled and said of course she was. She told him they just wanted him to stay close and be happy. Nolan was touched and gave his parents a big hug, telling them how wonderful Layla was and how happy he was that they were finally supporting his choice. Later, when Nolan told Layla about the invitation, she was surprised. She asked if they were planning to poison her, half joking. Nolan looked uncomfortable and she laughed it off, saying she would go anyway. On Friday, she dressed up, visited the salon, and tried to look her best. But Kendra warned her again to be very careful. Kendra told Layla that she didn't trust Gail at all and that something bad might happen. She even suggested Layla bring a hidden camera or voice recorder. Layla laughed and told her she was being dramatic, saying the worst that could happen was some rude words, not murder. Kendra shook her head and said she wouldn't be so sure. At the dinner, Gail greeted Layla politely and said she hoped to move forward and get along. Layla relaxed a little and tried to be friendly. The table was beautifully set, and everything seemed perfect, but there was something strange in the air. Nolan's father looked nervous and didn't speak much, and Gail kept glancing at him. When the food was served, Layla casually switched her plate with the one in front of Nolan's father, saying her portion was too big. Everyone smiled and dinner continued as normal. But soon, Nolan's father suddenly jumped up, gasping and shouting that he had been poisoned and calling for an ambulance. Layla stood up quietly and walked away from the table as chaos erupted. Gail hissed at her husband to shut up, but it was too late. The truth had come out. Kendra had been right. And Layla realized that no matter how much she loved Nolan, she couldn't live in fear with people like his parents around. The next day, Nolan met Layla and looked devastated. He asked her what she should do now and said he knew she wouldn't want to see him again. He blamed himself for not stopping his parents earlier and said maybe if he had, he wouldn't have met someone like her at all. Layla told him that she still loved him, but didn't want to live in fear. She didn't want to end up dead because someone poisoned her food or smothered her with a pillow. Nolan said his mother had been taken to a mental hospital and his father to a regular one, and that doctors believed the stress and strange pills had affected his mother's mind. Eventually, his parents were released and Layla decided not to press any charges. She and Nolan moved to another city, lived together without getting married yet, and waited to see if things would improve. Gail didn't fight it anymore. She just nodded and said she was glad they still spoke to her at all. A year later, Layla and Nolan finally got married. The wedding took place in their new city, and many friends and co-workers from their old jobs came to celebrate. Even Nolan's parents were invited and came with polite smiles and calm behavior. After the wedding, Nolan's parents surprised everyone by saying they were going on a long backpacking trip. Gail said she was done watching over her son and now it was Layla's turn. She said they were finally free and ready to enjoy life. Layla smiled, knowing the battle was over, for now.